Hi, I'm Steve Chrisman. I'm the superintendent here at the Medina County Career Center. Here at the Career Center, we have always focused on career technical programming and academic excellence. But now with the help of our corporate partnerships, we're now offering safe driving. The Career Center is happy to host the Take Control Driving program.
Teenagers are the number one people that are in accidents, and it's primarily because of the lack of just time behind the wheel. 2 of our children were killed in a car accident, and that's sort of the impetus behind how we got involved with this. Aaron was just a couple days shy of turning 17, and Drew was 13. Yeah, I kind of questioned, should I be letting her drive him to school? But we lived a mile, probably less than a mile from the school. So what can happen a mile away from home to your school? One of their classmates, kind of oddly, had been at school, but a friend of his had missed the bus and asked him to come back and get him. So he left school to go get him.
Aaron was driving, Andrew was in the passenger seat. They were pulling out of their house, their driveway. The other student went down a hill, and at that point, Aaron pulled out and he hit them broadside, right in front of the house. And
unfortunately, Aaron died at the scene. And Drew survived long enough that the next day, when they pronounced him, he was able to be an organ donor. They were both donors.
On a Saturday afternoon, our daughter left the house, like a lot of 18-year-olds do in the afternoon, to go visit some friends. Had only really gotten 3 miles from the house probably, and freezing rain had developed and the roads became very icy, and she had lost control of her car and was hit by another car and died at the scene.
First couple of years were pretty much a blur for me. I don't know a lot of dates, a lot of things like that, so it was hard. Yeah.
It's still difficult 10 years from now. As for, I think, any parent it would be, she has one brother. Was very, very difficult for him at the time. He was 14 years old, and they were very, very good friends.
It was 7:30 in the evening. It was a Saturday night. The call came in of a single vehicle crash on Smith Road. I was the first officer on scene at that point, and the vehicle was upside down in a ditch. And then when I went down to the ditch, there were 2 other individuals that looked like they were stuck underneath the dash. Was able to see Michelle. We were able to get the 2 other victims out, and she was deceased on scene. And I can remember walking up to the door, and my leg was shaking uncontrollably, trying to figure out the best way, if there is any good way, which there isn't, obviously, to deliver this type of news. And I can remember everyone's facial expression, the emotion, the crying, the falling on the floor. It's something that you'll never forget as an officer, or they'll never forget as the family that just heard that news.
The hardest thing any parent will ever have to do is take that phone call and go on from there. And we just don't want to see anybody else have to do that.
So this is a personal thing for our community. These are not strangers. These are families that live with us, had their children with us, and they also want to see other people's children be able to live and have those dreams that they had for their children.
And then for the DePiros, I actually met them for the first time when they were giving a speech at the detention center, and they gave it with the individual that was involved in hit their son and daughter. She was very emotional, so was Chris, but they had him up there and forgave him. And I think that was very impactful for the students to see the emotion, but yet they forgave him for that mistake. After they left, I walked outside and introduced myself, explained the program, and then we just started meeting after that.
When I look back to just, the first time we met, we sat in a Panera looking over some paperwork saying, what do you think we can do? And knowing they were already doing a program similar-ish in Medina County, but they were for kids who had already had tickets or had already been in accidents.
They were like, hey, we like the idea, but we want kids that have never received a citation to be able to have access to this. So that's what led to their partnership and then Westfield's involvement.
What was appealing to us about Take Control was it brought together private citizens, private businesses, government, all with a passion around one particular thing, helping, save lives.
When Take Control started, our court was contacted and we had a grant writer, and we thought this would be a great program to reach out in the community to save children, to help other agencies, the police agencies, some foundations that were raising money to try to prevent the same incidents that happened to them.
I tell you that it really started to snowball when they started talking about a driving course.
It kind of sets it in concrete, which it is a huge concrete parking lot that they do it in, but it sets it in concrete that this will be around for a long time.
Yeah, so Take Control Driving is a course that's offered once a month. It's a 3-hour course for licensed teens. And the goal of it really is to put them into situations that you don't really get to practice when you're learning to get your driver's license, yet we all encounter, and when you encounter them, they can be scary, devastating, accident-causing.
One of them is just evasive lane change. If something were to come out in front of the kids as they're driving, whether it's another vehicle, an animal, just evasive lane change, emergency braking. And then we also use a drift lift car, which puts them into a skid, and they have to recover from it.
And have real live police officers teaching you. Not just an instructor is going to sit in the car with you, his brake on his foot just in case something happens. These police officers are dedicated.
They're good people trying to help them. They try to keep them safe. They joke with them at the class. They have fun with them at the class.
And all the people that run this program, all certified driving instructors, they're the best of the best.
So it's come over many, many years to get to this point, but it's because everyone's driven by the end goal, and which is the hope that this doesn't ever happen again, or that we can reduce this to affect as least many people as possible.
Jessica, our daughter, was 18 at the time, and like I said, she never came home that day. And if we can save one parent from getting that phone call, that's our goal for this program. She was beautiful inside and out. We are very proud of her and all of her accomplishments in such a short life. We're honored. I know Phil, myself, my son, my entire family, we're honored to support this fine program, and we will continue to do it for as long as we can.
And I don't want them to be poster children for tragedy. We want them to be poster children for hope and teaching and education and making a difference in other lives. And we really feel driven from their spirit to be able to do this.
They're sustaining the memories of their children. And I believe that the students that participate and Take Control really feel some accountability to being safe drivers.
The idea of how many people has this saved, we'll never know. We'll never know how many accidents have been avoided by this class, but we know it has helped, and we know that kids have gotten a better training from it. So to put a number on it, we won't be able to do it, but just to know that these kids have received better or advanced training for this is in and of itself, I think, very positive.
Even if it saves one life, is beneficial for one parent never to have to receive that phone call.
And to write a check every couple years to fund the program we're doing, it really helps us remember Erin and Andrew, but also the fact is knowing that we're helping people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Janie Parrish, the director at the Wadsworth Area Chamber of Commerce, along with my fabulously gorgeous co-host, Michael Reynolds. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Janie.
Hi, it kind of looks different here from the Wadsworth studio at WCTV. So we're out at the brand new driving skills pad, and along with us, and also gorgeous, Our three people have been very instrumental in creating this driver skill pad and seeing it come to fruition. So first we have, I'm just going to pass the microphone down because we're sharing one microphone today. Normally I like my own. So, okay, there you go, Chief
I'll pass
Price.
it right down. We'll start down here.
Okay, good.
I'm Sergeant Chris LaFon with the Montville Police Department.
Rebecca Byrne with the Montville Police Department.
Terry Grice, also with the Montville Police Department. And thanks again for coming out. This is a great program.
We love it, and a great day and to be outside. And I just wanted to thank all of you because I'm hearing some kind of pattern going on, Montville Police Department. Yeah, I happened to notice that in my spare time.
On the QT, but you got it.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we're just going to turn this over to you, and so if you can explain what we are doing out at this driving skills pad and what is the purpose, how it was funded, all of those kind of fun things.
Sure. That sounds good. Also behind you, you can't see it, but we have the criminal justice students. This is their first year at the Career Center, so congratulations to them. But for this driving pad, we actually just opened this up in March of this year, and truthfully, it was a collaborative effort, and there's no way one of us could have done it on our own. This driving pad cost $800,000, if you can believe that. And when you look around, it's 2.5 acres of concrete. And it stemmed from, unfortunately, tragic accidents that have occurred in Medina County. I'll give you a brief history of that. In 2006, Michelle Sanderbeck lost her life. In 2008, Jessica Schaefer also lost her life in a single-car accident on Wadsworth Road. And then in 2010, Aaron and Andrew Airbar lost their life, tragically leaving their house to go to school at Highland High School. Very tragic incidents, and those families have been so dedicated to helping other families not go through such a tragic event. So this pad came as a result of all of their help. The state of Ohio contributed $250,000 out of the state capital budget. The Career Center paid over $400,000 for this, and one of the families contributed $70,000.
Wow.
I mean, that is such a large number, and it's a tribute to everyone's passion for it. Westfield Insurance also contributed $50,000, and Judge Dunn is a very intricate role player in this as well. So that's how we came to this. Well, again, it's just when you look at it, it's just amazing to see it, and that's how we got to this point. Sergeant LaFon heads up the program, and then I'll let him speak to the actual class exercises, if you will.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. The class is held every, basically once a month, the third weekend of the month. And I'm going to let Mrs. Byrne speak to how you register and whatnot, but we'll talk about the class a little bit as well. So the class is a 3-hour class in total. We spent about an hour with the students in the classroom, actually covering the crashes that Chief just spoke about there, of all the families that are the integral part of why this program is here today. So we start off, we go through that. There's obviously a lot of lessons to be learned from those crashes. And the parents have asked us basically to pass that along to all of our students. So after we spend that hour's worth of classroom, we talk a little bit about some of the skills that we'll work with out here on the pad. We move out here and we spend about 2 hours on the skills pad with the kids. Every class has 4 instructors and 12 students. So we have a very small student to instructor ratio. That allows us to ride with the kids at all times. So they're constantly receiving instruction. And basically during that time, the kids that aren't driving are riding as passengers, so they're getting to learn from both the successes and the mistakes that the other students are making as we drive. And that keeps it keeps us engaged with the students the whole time, and they're not just sitting out here waiting to drive for their next turn. Out here, we run 5 events. We'll start off, the vehicle that we're standing in front of right now is our skid recovery vehicle. It is set up with a drift lift system on the back, and basically essentially what that does is it lifts the back tires off the ground so we can get into skids at a much slower and a much safer speed. And we'll see that here in a few minutes when we actually take the car out. So we do skid recovery with the kids. Set up on that side of the pad towards the school, we have evasive maneuver. So that simulates you're driving down the highway and for some reason a vehicle stopped in front of you or there's some obstruction in the road. The kids have to swerve left or right. And we get up to probably 25 or 35 miles an hour in doing that on the pad. Right where we're standing right now, we have two maneuverability exercises set up that we call control weave. They're police training exercises that we use with our officers that we've adapted for the class here. So it's a backing and forward exercise that the kids get to do some work with their mirrors, and they now get to work with the backup cameras that we have on the cars and that they have probably on their cars that they're driving. We do an ABS exercise. We found that a lot of kids don't necessarily really know the concept of ABS brakes. And when they get into accidents and they feel that ABS for the first time, a lot of times they let off the brake because they think something's wrong with the car. So we let them experience what ABS feels like out here, get the car up to speed, let them slam on the brakes and feel what that feels like, so that if they get into that in a real world scenario, they know that the car is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So we do ABS braking, and we've just added, this last year, we've added off-road recovery. There was a fatal accident involving a Cloverleaf student that she got off the roadway, lost control, and so now we teach off-road recovery here to teach the students how to come back on to the road after they've maybe mistakenly gotten off because they're not paying attention or whatever the scenario may be. So that's basically what we do out here. Again, that takes about 2 hours. At the conclusion of that, the kids get certificates. Westfield, being a big sponsor of ours, actually gives discounts to Westfield families that put their kids through the program. And other insurance companies, we believe, do the same. So we ask the parents to reach out to those and see if they can get a discount because they've gotten the advanced education of that program. So I will let Mrs. Burns speak a little bit on how the kids register and where they can go and how that process works.
And also who's eligible.
Yes.
Yes, we want to make sure that people understand who's eligible to be able to participate in this, and the fee.
First and foremost, the class is free, based by the generous donations of our families and our business sponsors and Judge Dunn's court as well. So the program is free. We do accept donations. We are registering, as Sergeant LaFawn said, it is the third Saturday of every month. The class runs from 9 to noon. You can call 330-661-0122 and leave a message on the voicemail we have, and someone will call you back to register your child. We take students 16 to 19 that are new drivers, and we have taken students mostly in Medina County, but we have taken them from as far as Jaga County. I'm thinking we've had people drive in from as far as Toledo as well. So we have offered, we don't turn teens away.
How far are we booked?
We are actually booking into our January of 2020 class right now.
Wow. Good deal. Yeah.
Janie, if you don't mind, we talked about the POW program and the collaboration around the county, and this is another, I guess, example of that, because not only is it Montville Police Department, but officers from Medina County Sheriff's Office, Wadsworth, Brunswick, and Medina City help with this program too. So it is very critical for residents to realize that this program means a lot to all the agencies in Medina County.
So what do you think when the kids come away, what are they saying?
We've actually, Baldwin Wallace actually ran a study for us with their students, and they followed up with a lot of our previous students to see what kind of effect we were making. And I know Chief has spoke to this in the past, and one of the things with this class is we'll never truly know what accidents we prevented in the students coming through here. We know that we've hopefully prevented accidents. We got that feedback when we reached out to those former students that said, hey, I was in a situation over the winter time that I used the skills that I learned in this class. We have a very positive effect, or a very positive response from the students. I think, they mostly show up on Saturday morning, and we always joke with the kids that they didn't come by their own choice. Mom and Dad made them show up here on Saturday. And when most of them get here, they look exactly like they were forced to be here, right?
Saturday.
We have a... right, yes. But we have a very, very good group of instructors. The officers that teach this program with me are fantastic, and spend a lot of time interacting with the students. Like I told you, we're spending 2 hours in the car with them as they rotate around. So by the end of the class, we've got a lot of laughing, a lot of smiling, this was a lot more fun than we expected. And we've heard, very similar to another class that we teach, that sadly that they learn more in this 3 hours than they learned in all of their driver's ed. Which is great for us, right? And it shows obviously that we're hopefully focusing on some things out here that they needed. and things they didn't know. And we know that skid recovery, as we spoke a little bit before, to our knowledge here, there's no other program in the state that's doing this the way that we're doing it, offering it for free and offering it as a part of a law enforcement instructed program. So that type of thing, skid recovery, we know they don't get in driver's ed. And obviously living in Northeast Ohio, it's a very pivotal skill as soon as the snow starts to fly here that we all need, right? And the kids have never got to experience that. So that is a very key to the program, and I think something that we're very proud of, that we have that opportunity to teach.
I think it's very cool that you had told me that the instructors do not come as a police officer dressed as a police officer. The students know that they're police officers. But I think, because it would be pretty intimidating to sit next to a police officer. I'm intimidated right now.
She normally is.
Yeah. So I think you have thought through everything, absolutely everything, to make this such a learning experience and taking down barriers, for these learning experiences. I shut Michael out here, so I'm going to give him the microphone for a sec, just for a minute.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. She's already tapping her toes, I'm sure. But when you mentioned about driver's ed, that they don't learn it, any thoughts on using some of what you learn here to have input into future driver's ed, to maybe incorporate some of the lessons here for everyone that might not be so fortunate to be able to come out here?
Chief, do you want to speak to that?
Well, the state of Ohio mandates that there's 24 hours of classroom instruction for driver's ed and only 10 hours behind the wheel. So for us to incorporate that, we'd have to go to the state level, which is obviously not impossible, but it would will certainly take some extra work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time now for a demonstration. What do you think?
I think so.
Well, before we even get going, and I'm going to stay out of the car because people don't even like to drive with me by myself. So what we're going to do is do some demonstrations here from inside the car. We'll have Drew be filming that, and then we'll film from outside of the car so you can see exactly what that looks like. But before we start that, we just want to thank you ever so much. And of course, you'll never know the lives that you saved and the injuries and things like that you have saved. So thanks for being dedicated to this.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Oh, I love it. It's such a great day. Yeah.
It's even better after you drive.
I thought for sure with police we'd have donuts, but I guess not.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We were expecting
Okay, so off we go.
All right, so we're gonna roll over here, and I'm gonna we'll do a couple demo laps as to how this works, and give you a little bit of an explanation about how skid recovery works, because it's not nearly as difficult as a lot of people probably portray it to be, and the reason is they just haven't been taught how to do it. So again, we kind of already just talked about how that skid system works. I've taken the traction control on the car off, so we are driving as if the only skill set that is going to help us and recover from the skid is going to be ours, which is what we're doing right here. So skid recovery is three things. It is our feet, our hands, and our eyes all working together. And we're going to start at our feet. Our feet usually get us into trouble. We're too heavy on the gas, we're too heavy on the brake and the ice and the snow, and that starts the skid. The first step in skid recovery is what we call off the offending pedal. And that means that if you're on the gas when the skid starts, we come off the gas. If you're on the brake when the skid starts, we come off the brake. And we do not transition to the other pedal. You'll see what happens if we hit the brake in a skid. Most people think when they get into a skid that's what they need to do, right? We're sliding or spinning on the road, and the thought is, hey, we need to stop this. The only way that most drivers know how to stop is via the brake. Problem is the brake actually makes it worse. And we'll show you that here in a second. The way that skid recovery works generally is we need the tires to free roll. So this type of skid recovery that I'm going to teach you works on front wheel drive, all wheel drive, rear wheel drive. It doesn't matter, because as we're recovering from the skid, none of the tires are being driven and or restricted by the brake or the gas. So we need those tires to free roll and get that traction back. That's why we're gonna stay off what we call off the offending pedal. Steering wise, if we're making a left-hand turn through the parking lot, we've got the wheel turned left and the back end starts to come out on us like we're gonna do a donut, right? There's two ways that we can recover from this with the wheel. We've already done what we need to with our feet. We've come off the pedal with our feet. Now we can either turn the wheel actually back, what we call into the skid. So we're turning left, but we actually bring the wheel back to the right. But dynamically, the vehicle does not want to be in a skid. So we can make it even easier, and we teach a method called shuffle steering, which keeps your hands really nice and low on the wheel, and essentially what I'm doing right now is how we're driving. Right? If we hand over hand steer and we try to, for example, recover from a skid, our hands are getting all crossed up. So we keep our hands at the bottom of the wheel and we basically shuffle that wheel left to right. So when we're in that skid and we're using that steering methodology, what I can do is simply let my grip up on the wheel. It's a very foreign concept to people because now we're sliding and we're in an out of control situation, but I'm telling you to let the wheel basically do what it needs to do. Dynamically, the car will recover itself. And if the car was driverless for a brief second, in a lot of cases, it would do it quicker than a lot of drivers. Because if they hold on to this wheel longer than they need to, that skid will continue to develop. So we'll let the wheel retract in our hands. The hardest thing is keeping our eyes positioned where we wanted that car to initially go. Out here, we've got a big cement pad, right? But on the road, we've got 2 lanes. It is very easy as a driver to get lulled into looking at the guardrail that we're sliding to, the grass, the trees, whatever it is. And the issue is as soon as we recover from the skid, now we're looking in that direction. And one of the prime concepts, or one of the key concepts that we teach in this class, is that we always want to keep our eyes where we want that car to go. If we're looking towards the trees and the guardrail, now we're going to drive to the trees and the guardrail, which is exactly where we don't want to be. So everybody's buckled in, yes? All right, so here's how this looks. And skid recovery is very unexciting to watch if you're doing it well in the car and you're doing it, it's not nearly as exciting as you would think. As soon as I feel the car start to skid, I let the wheel retract, I let the car regain traction, then I get back into the gas if we need to kind of power through. So in the ice and the snow, a lot of times we're going to feel it before we actually hear it. We're not going to get those squealing tires. You're going to feel that car start to get loose. So I feel the skid start, I let the wheel retract, I look where I want that car to go, and we recover from it. Now what happens, for example, if I don't let that wheel retract? As soon as I feel that car start to skid, I do everything right with my feet, but I hold my hands right where they're supposed to be. So that's what happens. All I did there, the only thing I did wrong was I basically held the wheel. I felt that skid start, and I said, oh geez, I don't know what to do, for example, and I held onto the wheel. That exact same thing will happen if I hit the brakes in the middle. So we'll do that same kind of idea. The car will spin a little bit on us, but you'll feel as soon as I hit the brakes, whatever skid recovery I had recovered with doing the proper wheel, now I lose because I've restricted those tires. So we'll do it on this next turn here. So I get the car moving. As soon as I feel the skid start, so by grabbing those brakes, we suddenly rotated around much more than we needed to because I've restricted those tires.
Now, if you tried to steer out of it, how different is it?
You mean if I actually, instead of letting that wheel retract? So we'll do it. We'll do it on the next one. Instead of letting that wheel retract in my hands, as soon as I feel that car.
I think that's probably the most common thing people would do.
Yeah. So I feel the skid start. I work the wheel around, come back. The issue is in that case I almost overdid it, right? So the beauty of letting that wheel retract is it'll do just as much as it needs to do. It will lock out if I need it to. But if it only needs a little bit because the skid isn't that bad, the wheel doesn't turn very far. The issue is once the skid is recovered, we have to be ready to start turning that wheel again. So what I don't want to see from any of the students is I don't want to see this, right?
Yeah.
We're not letting go of the wheel. I'm simply letting my grip up, and you can actually see it right on the back of my hand. So I can feel as we go around. I can feel it sliding through my hands. I can feel, even though I'm looking outside the car, I can feel when that wheel is stopped, and now I know I can start getting traction back.
Gotcha.
So preferably that's the easier way, but can you walk that wheel back around? You absolutely can, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a lot of times we may do more than we need to. And walking that around. You're
not going to do it as well as, like you said, it will naturally.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Dynamically, amazingly, the car doesn't want to be in a skid, and it wants to recover if we'll let it. A lot of drivers, though, don't let it because they feel that spin start. And again, one of the worst things we can do and we can see is as we spun around there, right? I just held onto that wheel, and that was that.
And that's probably a common thing as well.
Very common.
Tense up.
And you tense up. We lock up and
both. Hit
the brake and that, and now suddenly a skid that we could have recovered from has turned into some loop-de-loop on the roadway, right?
Yep.
So, all right, sir. All right, we're good, Mike. Okay, all right, Mike. So just like we talked about, what we're going to do here first, and this is what I do with every student, is we're going to take a couple laps around here nice and slow, just to get the course down so you know where you're looking. It's essentially set up like a figure eight where we don't cross over in the middle. So we're going to come around these 3 cones at the end. We're going to go in between the 2 blue cones. Okay. Then we're going to go back out around the cones at the end, come back in the middle and whatnot. Okay. Practice that shuffling. I know it's going to be super new to you, but practice that. And we'll see if we can employ it once we get into skid. Literally the difference between skid and no skid is about 1 to 2 miles an hour. Okay. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to give you commands of gas, brake, which I'll probably almost never say, and then off. When I say off, I just mean put your feet on the floor. We've got a good speed set, and I will say things like gas, 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 gas. Just give me a nice smooth transition of gas, because I'm literally trying to change your speed by 1 to 2. Okay. I have students that get in here that floor it, and I'm like, oh, no, now we got to slow down, all this other stuff. So I'll say like, hey, gas, 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 off. Okay. And like I said, you're probably never going to hear me say brake, but so that's it. So
you haven't driven with Janie and I.
We'll see. All right, so start off. Give yourself a couple feet from these cones. They're just markers. You don't have to be real close to them. So you're going to come around this cone, come off the gas, let the car coast, go in between the 2 blue cones in the middle, and then once we get through these 2 blue cones, we'll come right back out and we'll go around those 3 cones on the outside.
All the way around?
Yep.
Like
Yep, perfect.
How come there's handprints on the window?
No, those aren't actually handprints, I don't think. Don't get too nervous back there. She's sweating up a storm back there.
Yeah. Wait till we get your nose print.
So you'll come into the blue cones again, Mike, and then we'll come immediately back out and around the top. And that's the course we'll take the whole time.
Okay.
So that's that essential figure 8, but we just don't cross over to the other side.
The speed about what you want?
Yep, it's perfect. So what we're going to do is let's take one more lap around just to get you comfortable with where you need to look. And then all I'm going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of speed. Okay. And when you feel that car start to slide, you're just going to let your grip up on that wheel, let that wheel retract, let the car recover and get traction back, and then stay off the gas until we're recovered, which is harder to do here because we're in a controlled environment. On the road, rest assured, the last thing you're going to do is dive right back into that gas, probably, right? So that's the course.
It's hard to actually do the shuffling versus hand over hand.
It is,
that's
because
probably the hardest part.
Yes. The good thing is with our young drivers that we're getting in here, it is they don't have a lot of experience driving.
It doesn't seem natural.
Yes, so we can break them. All right, let's get a little skin. So add a little gas for me. Okay. Little gas. Keep the same course. Add some gas. Add some gas. 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 Off. Keep that turn coming. If you feel a car start to skid, we're right at the brink there. Right at the brink. So when we make those turns, still make a hard right turn, because I actually want to induce that skid, right? You'll get a little skid probably here. There you go. There you go. Perfect. So as soon as you feel it come off that gas, we'll get one here when we come back. So add a little gas for me. Little gas. Off. Make that hard right. There it is. Good. Perfect. 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 That's exactly it. So come around the top here. Add a little gas for me. Off. So do it up here on this one. Add some gas. Add some gas. 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 Off.
Oh no!
I don't want you to let the wheel retract this time.
Okay.
All right. So let's come around here. Add a little bit of gas.
They said to me, "Will you?"
A little bit of gas. A little bit of gas. Good. Hold the wheel.
Oh no! Okay. Okay, I'm done.
Well, I'm exhausted after that, a little seasick, but boy, I don't know what this means to Medina County and the citizens and the parents and the students, and it is just amazing. And we're so thankful that this group came together with all of these supporters as well, came together to provide this driving skills. So it's amazing, and make sure that you contact it'll be Rebecca, right? And I'm going to turn the microphone over in this direction so they can just sign us out. And Michael, always do your sign out.
Have a great week, Wadsworth.
So here you go. And if you could just give us a little sign off.
Give us the phone number one more time, Rebecca.
330-661-0122.
And thanks again for coming down. We appreciate you highlighting this program.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great weekend.
Let's all clap it up.